Welcome back to the channel. If you guys would like to see a quick video comparing sizing dies for 6.5 Creedmoor, stick around. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you'd like to learn what loads work best for me and the tools that I use to make my group smaller, subscribe to the channel and leave your feedback in the comments section below to help me and the rest of the community here improve our load development. In this week's video, we'll be talking specifically about sizing dies for 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, I hesitate to say full-length sizing dies because there is one neck-only sizing die that we're going to talk about today, specifically the Redding. However, for the most part, we're talking about full-length sizing dies in 6.5 Creedmoor. Most of the dies you see before you are available in a set, however, that's not necessarily how they were purchased. If you're familiar with the channel, I have previously done a video comparing some of the dies from Hornady as well as Lee. In this particular video, guys, we're going to add Forster to the mix, and we're talking specifically about sizing dies. I do have another video talking about seating dies, and I'll put a card up to that one if you guys would like to go check that out. However, we're only talking about sizing dies in this video. One 5-second thing for my consistent viewers out there, guys, I do want to let you know I am going to be doing some updating to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be changing some artwork around and changing the name of the channel to more fit actually what we do here, reloading. Be on the lookout for that, guys. Don't think that someone's taken over your YouTube account. You'll probably see some updates on my channel in the future. And as always, guys, I always like your feedback. Let me know what you think of the changes when they come. That commercial out of the way, let's talk about the dies. In today's video, we're going to talk about all these different die sets, the actual measurements that they take the neck to and expand to, and all the actual case dimensions after the sizing has been completed. I'm also going to give you guys the dimensions of the actual expanding device inside the dies so you have a clue what the neck tension of the dies should be providing. All the dimensions are going to be in reference to brass that was actually sized when I had these all set up. You'll notice all these have the Forster ring. They were all sized on my Forster press. When we talk about setting these dies up, guys, we're specifically talking about taking our fire-formed brass and actually taking our headspace measurement with our headspace tool from Hornady and pushing the shoulder back between 1 and 3 thousandths. Obviously, with a neck die, we're not pushing the shoulder back at all. We're just going to show you the neck dimension, and eventually, after we talk about all the dimensions, we're also going to talk about the concentricity that we measure with our concentricity tool after all of the sizing is completed. First, guys, let's talk about the dies. Now, I'm going to put an individual shot up as we go along. First of all, let's start with the Lee die. I did the best I could taking photographs here to give you guys an idea of the machine finish as the die was provided to me. I'm not going to tell you that that's going to provide you a better or worse sizing operation. I'm just showing you what my dies look like when they were provided to me. I thought about putting this all on the screen so you could get a better idea of comparing them, guys. However, those of you who are watching this video on mobile, it's real difficult to see the finish on a 5-inch screen of 4 dies all at the same time. Let's just walk these one by one. Here's a Lee die. And obviously for this photo, guys, I removed the center rod on all the dies so we can get a picture of an actual finish of the die. You'll see the Hornady Custom grade, the Hornady Match grade, and then Forster. I'll put a shot up there, all those on the same time. Draw your own conclusions. I don't want to tell you that the Lee die won't provide a reasonably sized case. However, I did want you guys to see the difference in the finish. Obviously, the bargain set on the table is the Lee dies. You do get an awful lot for your money with the Lee die. However, sometimes, guys, you get a little bit of what you pay for. In this video, we're going to talk at least as much about value as we are about the cost. Now, if you want to talk about just 2 dies, the actual Hornady Custom grade dies are a good option and actually a little bit cheaper than Lee Ultimate Die Set. However, the Lee Ultimate Die Set does come with the Lee Collet die, which is very popular, as well as the factory crimp die. And if you guys are intending to reload hunting loads or any bullet with a cantilure and you want to crimp those, that is a great die to have. And if you're not going to buy the set, you probably might want to pick it up individually. If you look a little bit about the finish, I'm not going to say that Hornady is perfect. I don't want to say Hornady is any better than Lee. I will say the visual appearance of the Forster die is far superior of all the other dies in this particular case. Looks may be deceiving. However, guys, that's my impression. Just to give you guys a quick ballpark of some pricing, the custom grade die set, not on sale, regular price is somewhere around $36 on Midway. The match grade die set from Hornady is about $80 not on sale. The Lee set is about $46 not on sale. And the Forster die, I purchased them alone. You can usually acquire those in a set that comes not with a micrometer seating die, but the bench rest seating die for around $80. If you want to buy that die by itself, I believe it's available for around $37. One thing of note, guys, if you're going to be looking, two of the dies on the table here are what you would call bushing dies. Both the Hornady Match grade as well as the Redding neck size are both bushing dies. Your benefits in this case is you're not actually oversizing that brass to make it too small. You actually buy a separate bushing, which does not come with either one of these die sets. You must actually purchase the bushings separately, and you determine those on your own. How you determine that size is basically you measure a loaded round, you subtract somewhere around 1.5 or 2 thousandths from that measurement and come up with your bushing size. Now you guys will see when we get to the measurements exactly what you're going to provide, at least my experience. And for reference, the actual bushing that we're using in the Hornady die set is a 288, and the actual bushing we're using in the Redding neck sizing die is a 289. A couple things that I think are really important, guys, is we want to talk about how actually hard we're working the neck. We want to keep the work on the neck of the case to as minimal as possible, so we don't necessarily want to shrink that down any further than we have to. I thought I'd go across the board here and provide you the measurements. We ran 5 cases, and the measurements I'm going to give you are based on the measurements, basically of the average of 5 cases with each combination. Very specifically, guys, we are talking about the actual outside dimension of the case as it's measured here. So after we put in the die, I'm going to tell you the dimension of the outside of that neck is going to get size 2 before it gets expanded. Without the expander rod in the lead die, the dimension is 0.2805 to 0.281. For the Hornady Custom Die, it was actually 0.280. Now, as I mentioned, the Match Hornady die has a 0.288 bushing installed, and the average measurement on the 5 cases was actually 0.2875. Now, the Forster die, the actual neck dimension it was reduced to was 2.835 inches. And like I mentioned, the bushing die for the Redding with the 289 bushing, the actual dimension varied between 0.286 and 0.287 inches. Not to get too far off track here, guys, but I will say that's been my experience when I've ordered the bushings from Redding. I bought that after I bought my bushing for my match grade die from Hornady. I copied the 288 and found out it was actually reducing it much further than I wanted to. So my 0.289 bushing is actually still getting 0.286, 0.287. Maybe that won't be your experience, but at least that has been mine. So guys, like I mentioned too, when we talk about headspace, the actual dimension of what you see here with the D400 insert from Hornady, my headspace measurement after on my fired brass is somewhere about 1.5335 inches. It tends to vary between 1.533 and 1.534. And typically, guys, your final headspace measurement after resizing will be determined by how far you press your case into your die. Like I mentioned before with that, guys, you're basically looking to push it back between 1 and 3 thousandths. So with the die setting I used to resize all of these dies, the headspace measurement on the lead dies was between 1.5315 and 2.1532. On the Hornady Custom dies, I had it set to 1.531 to 1.532. The match set was 1.5305 to 1.5315, so a little bit further. The Forster die was identical to the match die, so 1.5305 to 1.5315. And on the Redding dies, obviously we didn't change the headspace dimension, so that remained the same. The next dimension we're going to talk about is on the case body right below the case head. My average dimension out from my fired brass is about 0.4715. We'll see what each one of these dies gives you after it's been resized. Starting off with the Lee actually reduced the size to 0.469. The Hornady Custom and the Hornady Match were both 0.4695. The Forster actually only reduced the dimension a half a thousandths to 0.470, and obviously the Redding did not reduce it at all. The next dimension I'm going to give you is the outside case right by the shoulder. In this particular case, our fired brass gives us somewhere around 0.4635 inches before it's been sized. In this case, the Lee die reduced that dimension down to an average of 0.459 inches. The Hornady Custom set was 0.458. The Match set was 0.4585. The Forster set was 0.459. And obviously the Redding dimension did not change. So guys, the next dimension we're going to talk about is the expanding device. The actual dimension each one of these dies should open the case up to set the neck tension for your bullet. So guys, in this case, the Lee expander attempted to open the necks up to 0.263 inches. The Hornady Custom die set it at 0.2615. I will mention that it's very easy to remove the expanding device on the match grade and only use the bushing to size it. However, if you do use the expansion device that is provided, it opens it up to 0.2625. The Forster die, actually, if you got a good measurement on it, it opens up to 0.2625 as well. The Reading expander ball opens it up to 0.262 as well. One of the biggest thing, guys, that I thought would be interesting to evaluate in all of these different die sets is the actual concentricity of the brass after it's been formed. When we talk about concentricity, we're going to be talking about it in a way that's a little bit different. Now, if you're a fan of the channel, you're going to know that I'm a big fan of the actual expander manual by Sinclair. So some of the measurements I'm going to give you are going to be given on the brass prior to the expanding device going through the neck to reopen the neck up. Without going into too much detail, basically, if you want to know a little bit more about the Sinclair expander manual, go ahead and watch my video. I'll post a card up for that one as well. The 5-second version is your actual concentricity should improve by forcing something down through the neck rather than trying to pull something back up through it. But don't take my word for it. It's something I learned from Glenn Zedeker. All of the brass that we have sized on the table was actually rolled on my concentricity gauge and is within at least 1/1000th tolerance before it was sized. So guys, let's change viewing angles and we'll start taking some measurements. So guys, bear with me as much as possible as we go through this. I'm going to try and not shake the camera and give you guys the best view I possibly can. Since we started off with Lee with all the other measurements, we might as well start it off with this one as well. Guys, specifically these 5 pieces of brass were actually sized, like I mentioned, without the actual expanding rod in place. You'll notice that I have the dial indicator set to about the middle of the neck on these cases because I believe it is optimal for reading that. So guys, as you'll go, you notice we have somewhere in the ballpark of about 1/1000th, give or take a little bit on that piece. About the same. Maybe a little bit better than 1/1000th. About the same. About the same. For reference too, make sure you're using fire-formed brass because I really don't believe until the case has been fire-formed that your concentricity values mean much. But again, that's just my 2 cents. So guys, these 5 pieces are going to be after the actual expander was used. You'll notice the difference in place from the dial indicator. You'll see that after we actually use the sizing stem on these, we have that piece is almost 3/1000ths. That piece about 2.5. So that piece about 2.5. That a little over 2. And that a little over 2 as well. So guys, these are the cases from the Hornady Custom Grade Die Set. See, far less than 1/1000th. About the same. About the same. About the same. So if we're real careful, this one's a little bit more. I still think it's a little less than 1/1000th, maybe 3/4, but still pretty good. Keep in mind, that was actually before the expanding device went through it. So these are our custom grade dies with after the expander's gone through them. Like, obviously, you'll notice the change in the dial indicator. So that one is a little over 1/1000th. So that one's about 1/1000th. So it's just over 1,000th, 1,000th and a half maybe. Looks to be just over 1,000th. Thousandth and a quarter, 1,000th and a half, somewhere in that ballpark. It still degraded the concentricity value, but not by an awful lot. We're going to skip Forster and come back to them, but the next thing we're going to talk about is the bushing dies. The outcome of this is going to be based on what you decide to do. If you decide to shrink those down and expand those out with a device, this could change, or if you're just trying to shrink down the neck dimension so you can put a bullet in it and you're actually not running anything through the neck, which is your decision for your reloading process. However, in this particular case, these were only ran through the bushing and no expansion device was used on either of the bushing style dies. These are the Hornady Match Grade set with the 288 bushing. So that one, pretty good, a little less than 1,000th. About the same, about 1,000th. Just maybe just a touch over 1,000th. Oh, look at this one. So you see that one varied about 2,000ths. And that one almost the same, not quite, but almost 2,000ths. These are from the Redding Type S bushing dies. So you'll see, wow. 1, 2, 3. So right there, that one's at 3,000ths. A little over 2,000ths. I think if I could hold it steady, that one's only about 1,000th in that ballpark, maybe 1,000th and a half. There we go. This one's, wow. Start there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite 6,000ths. One, two, yep, and that one back to about 2,000ths. So guys, we were running out of brass, and so I actually have to show you this measurement, and then I need to run the mandrel on them to show you the dimension changes on the Forster set. Here are the cases from the Forster set with no expansion device. So if I could hold it steady, not quite 1,000. Pretty good. Like if I could hold it steady, barely moves the needle, maybe a quarter or a half. Same with this one, maybe maybe a little bit more, certainly less than 1,000th. I've spun it over 4 times, and some of this is me wiggling, guys. So I still think that one's less than 1,000th. So maybe half 1,000th. So very, very little movement. Maybe half 1,000ths. So guys, now that we've actually resized all the necks with our Sinclair mandrel, let's take our measurements. So you'll see, if I could hold it still, way less than 1,000th. and I can't hold it still enough to do it justice, but way less than a thousandth, and that is sized and ready to go. It's our next one. So same thing, far less than a thousandth. So same deal, still less than a thousandth after it's been resized. And same deal there. Close to a thousandth, but I think it's still less than a thousandth. And that's piece number 5, still far less than a thousandth. So guys, with all that excitement out of the way, let's go back and change camera angles just one more time. So I hope I didn't bore you to tears too much with those run-out measurements. However, I did think it was an important part of evaluating these dies and how they can perform. I did a couple cases with the Forster die with the actual expanding device in there, and I got just over a thousandth of run-out with it. Like I mentioned, guys, the way I like to process my brass is I decap everything first. I wet tumble it to get it as clean as possible. I run it through the Forster die to size the body of the case, and then I run it back through the Sinclair mandrel die to open the case mouth up to my desired neck tension. In this case, I set the neck tension at 2/1000ths with the neck turning mandrel. Your decision is obviously up to you, but I did want to give you guys the opportunity to see what my experience has been. I've got a few questions on why I bought so many dies. I started off with the lead die set, and honestly, after playing around with it, I was very disappointed with the fit and finish. It's actually the die that I started loading 6.5 Creedmoor with. I'll do a close-up real quick of its expander rod, and you'll get a little bit of an idea what I'm seeing. Now, I'm sure I'm going to make a lot of Lee fans mad here. You'll see a lot of raw tooling marks on the rod. Now, if you want to, guys, you can chuck that in a drill and polish it out and make that a lot smoother. I'm certain of that. However, I did not really intend to purchase my dies with the intent on modifying them any particular way, shape, or form. Especially since the neck tension is so low on that, I'm sure it wouldn't hurt to turn that a little bit and a little bit of Scotch-Brite or something like that to make it smaller. However, even knowing that I needed to well lube the case, if I can show you guys, that's what the first actual case ended up looking like. That rod was still so rough that trying to shove it down through the case, it shoved the neck down through the shoulder. And needless to say, I was a little bit disappointed. So working with it a little bit and cleaning it up, I did get it to work better. However, like I mentioned, guys, if you don't need the other stuff that comes with it, it's not the cheapest option. And I believe for straight full-length sizing die cost set, that the custom grade die set is a better value, not only on cost, but the seating stem that comes with that die set is much better for about any particular bullet you can possibly pick. And there's other ones that you can purchase for it, which you cannot with Lee. All that aside, you guys will ask, why did I not stop there? Well, I bought the match grade die set too because I really didn't want to work the necks of the cases as much. However, you guys saw concentricity measurements. I didn't actually purchase this concentricity tool until I'd actually already purchased the Hornady concentricity tool. Not to get sidetracked too far, however, I saw that my concentricity values were mostly pretty good, but occasionally I would still be getting a flyer where I would have 4 or 5 thousandths of run out. And I could not figure out for the life of me where it was. But at that time, I did not have a tool where I could measure it on the raw cases. So guys, I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to badmouth the match grade die set. I think overall it is a pretty good die. Obviously, it comes with a price tag. It does come with a much better bullet seating stem. I just couldn't guarantee that my run out would be as low as it could possibly be with that die consistently. Plus, watching too much of the 6.5 Guys channel, I saw the Forster die. Guys, the measurements I gave you on this particular die are stock from the factory. There is an actual option. You can send that die back to Forster or purchase one from them new and actually request that that neck size be opened up to not squeeze the neck of the case down quite as much. But again, that's up to you. It is available for, I think, a fairly reasonable cost of like $12. But again, I'm not sure that's really needed. The best combination, as you can see with our run out measurements that we took today, was with the combination of the Forster die and the Sinclair mandrel die, guys. That is my process. I can say very consistently when I go through and size any of my brass in quantity, It would be a very rare occasion when I took a runout measurement and I had over a thousandth of runout, which is exactly what I'm shooting for. So guys, draw your own conclusions. You guys can look up the cost of the die sets. What's it worth to you? What do you guys want to do? Or what solution you guys end up with? I will say, dollar for dollar, I don't think you can go wrong with a custom grade die set from Hornady. I would certainly recommend getting the micrometer seating adjustment for the actual 25 bucks. It is a great addition to that die set and makes it so much better. That seating stem does come with a match grade die set. However, I have pretty much retired this die on my bench simply because of the random runout. In this particular test, I think we only hit around 2 thousandths of runout. However, it's not impossible for somehow I would get an occasional case where I would get like 5 thousandths of runout. I just couldn't seem to eliminate that from my process. However, guys, since I've switched to the Forster die on my process, I really haven't had any runout issues whatsoever. And I really don't find that as quick as it takes to change out the dies in this press, it's really not a huge deal to do that, at least in the low quantity case counts that I seem to be reloading. So guys, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. What's your experience been? Have you guys actually measured your case runout on your cases after sizing to determine how good of a job your sizing die actually is doing? I'm sure somebody's going to point out the fact that I did not use the Lee collet die. Guys, I'm going to get around to doing a review on that die. I just haven't got there yet. I've kind of beat it to death on this channel, but if this is your first time here, for my application, I'm really a full-length sizing kind of guy. If you want to go watch my video on full-length sizing versus neck sizing, you'll get an idea why. I really haven't seen any performance improvement doing neck-only sizing, and eventually you're either going to have to full-length size or you're not going to be able to close that brass inside your chamber. Most of the time, the brass manufacturers recommend you full-length size before you actually load for the first time anyway. But like I always say, guys, your reloading bench is your reloading bench. Please do whatever you feel is right. Your reloading process is your responsibility. But tell me what you guys thought in the comments below. Were you surprised at the runout numbers we got? If you guys have been measuring your runout on loaded rounds and actually not been able to track down where it is, I do encourage you guys to pick up the tool. It's not extremely expensive. I think it is a very versatile tool, and I know that it has certainly helped me track down where my runout issues were coming from in my process. It certainly has a permanent spot on my reloading bench. I really do think if I was to do things over again, I would have just started with that bench rest set, picked up the Forster set, and I certainly wouldn't have done near as many videos on all these different die set combinations. Because like I mentioned, guys, though you don't have the micrometer feature in that particular set, for $80 you can get a great die set, and unlike the match grade die set, if you're looking at that with a Hornady, you don't have to buy the bushings. The bushings are extra cost. The Hornady bushings run about $17-ish. The Redding bushings are about $15-ish if you're using the steel. If you're looking for the titanium nitride, those are more. But I'm interested to know your experience in the comment section below. Guys, be looking for that channel name change coming up in the not too distant future. Please keep subscribed to the channel. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you get subscribed when I post new videos. And as always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, and commenting on all my videos. Until next week, stay safe in small groups, everyone.